The wrong table. The evening air carried the scent of jasmine through the open windows of Bella Vista, the most elegant restaurant in downtown San Francisco. Crystal chandeliers cast warm golden light across white tablecloths, and soft piano music drifted through conversations of couples celebrating their Friday night together. Luca Hartley adjusted his navy blue suit jacket and checked his watch for the third time. 7:30 sharp, just as his sister had insisted. Glanced down at his daughter Leah, who was practically bouncing in her little black dress with tiny silver stars. "Remember what we talked about, sweetheart?" Luca whispered, smoothing her dark curls. "This is the first time meeting someone new since Mommy went to heaven." Leah nodded solemnly, then broke into a mischievous grin. "I know, Daddy. I'll be good, but can we get the chocolate cake after?" Luca chuckled despite his nerves. It had been 3 years since losing his wife Catherine to cancer, and this was his first attempt at dating again. His sister Rachel had set him up with someone from her yoga class, describing her as perfect for you, Luca. She's kind, funny, and loves kids. The hostess led them through the busy restaurant toward table 12. Luca held Leah's small hand while scanning table numbers. But between answering Leah's constant questions about the fancy decorations and trying to spot his date, he lost track. "This must be it," he said, stopping at a table where a beautiful woman with long, wavy brown hair sat with a young boy about Leah's age. The woman looked up, surprised, as Luca pulled out a chair. Her warm brown eyes widened as he sat down confidently. "Hi there, I'm Luca," he said with his most charming smile.
"Ow.
"Sorry if I'm a few minutes late. My traffic was crazy and this little princess here couldn't decide between 3 different dresses." Isabelle Thorne blinked twice, her fork frozen halfway to her mouth. She glanced around quickly, wondering if she was dreaming. The man sitting across from her was devastatingly handsome, with dark hair slightly tousled from the evening breeze, and green eyes that seemed to sparkle with warmth. "I think there might be some confusion," she began gently. But Leah had already turned to the boy beside Isabelle. "Hi, I'm Leah. What's your name?" she asked, with the fearless enthusiasm only 6-year-olds possess. "I'm Marcus," the boy replied shyly. "Are you my mom's friend?" Isabelle's heart melted at the innocent exchange. She looked at Luca, who was now realizing his mistake, his cheeks flushing pink. "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry," Luca stammered, starting to stand. "I must have the wrong table." "I was supposed to meet someone and I thought please don't go," Isabelle said softly, surprising herself. "I mean, you're already here, and the kids seem to be getting along. I'm Isabelle, by the way." Marcus tugged on his mother's sleeve. Can they stay? She seems nice." Luca looked at Isabelle, then at their children, who were already chatting about their favorite cartoons. Something in her gentle smile made his nervousness melt away. "Well," he said, settling back into his chair, "if you don't mind the company of 2 party crashers, I'd love to stay." Unexpected connections. 20 minutes later, Luca had completely forgotten about his original date. Isabelle had ordered extra breadsticks for the table, and both children were giggling as they built tiny bread sculptures while the adults talked. "So you're a graphic designer?" Luca asked, genuinely interested, as he watched Isabelle's eyes light up when she spoke about her work. "Freelance, mostly," she nodded. "It gives me flexibility with Marcus's schedule. Single mom life requires some creativity." She paused, then added quietly, "His father left when he was 2. Said he wasn't ready for the responsibility." Luca's expression softened. "I'm sorry. That must have been incredibly difficult." "It was, but we're stronger for it," Isabelle said, glancing lovingly at her son. "What about you? Are you married?" "Widowed," Luca replied simply. "My wife Catherine passed away 3 years ago. Cancer." He reached over to squeeze Leah's hand gently. Still figuring out how to navigate this new normal, Isabelle's heart clenched. She had been preparing herself for the possibility that he was married, but this was something entirely different. The pain in his eyes was unmistakable, but so was the love when he looked at his daughter. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said. Softly, she must have been an amazing woman to have raised such a sweet little girl. She was. Luca smiled sadly. Catherine would have loved this. She always said life has a way of bringing the right people together at the right time. Just then, a flustered woman with short blonde hair approached their table. "Excuse me, are you Luca?" she asked breathlessly. I'm Sarah from Rachel's yoga class. I've been waiting at table 7 for 45 minutes. Luca's face went crimson. Sarah, oh my God, I am so sorry. He gestured helplessly at the table. Looked between Luca, Isabelle, and the 2 children, who were now sharing a coloring book the restaurant had provided. Her initial annoyance melted into understanding, then into a knowing smile. You know what? Sarah said, I think I'm going to call it a night. But you, she pointed at Luca with a grin, owe me a really good story at Rachel's next dinner party. As Sarah walked away, Isabelle couldn't help but laugh. Well, that was mortifying and adorable at the same time. I feel terrible, Luca groaned. I'm usually not this scattered. Maybe you're exactly where you're supposed to be, Isabelle said, echoing his wife's words without knowing it. Their eyes met across the table, and something shifted between them. The nervous energy of a first date was replaced by something deeper, more natural. It felt like coming home. Growing closer, 3 weeks had passed since the restaurant incident, and Luca found himself looking forward to Isabelle's daily text messages more than his morning coffee. What had started as a simple thanks for the lovely evening had evolved into lengthy conversations about everything from their children's milestones to their dreams for the future. Daddy, when are we seeing Isabelle and Marcus again? Laia asked for the 5th time that week as Luca tucked her into bed. Soon, sweetheart, he promised, kissing her forehead. Maybe this weekend we can all go to the park together. Good, Laia said decisively. I like her. She makes you smile the way you used to smile with Mommy. Luca's breath caught. Out of the mouths of babes, tea! He had been so focused on his own guilt about moving forward that he hadn't realized how much his happiness affected his daughter's world. Meanwhile, across town, Isabelle was having her own revelation. She had sworn off dating after Marcus's father left, convinced that she was better off focusing solely on her son. But Luca had somehow slipped past all her carefully constructed. Walls, Mom, can we call Laia tomorrow? Marcus asked, as Isabelle helped him with his homework. I want to tell her about the cool rock I found. Of course, honey, Isabelle smiled. You two have become quite the team. Are you and Mr. Luca going to get married? Marcus asked, with the bluntness only children possess. Isabelle nearly choked on her tea. Sweetie, we're just friends. We've only known each other for a few weeks. But you laugh more now, Marcus observed. And you hum when you cook dinner. You only do that when you're really happy. That Saturday. They met at Golden Gate Park. The autumn air was crisp, and the leaves were turning brilliant shades of gold and red. Luca watched as Isabelle helped both children onto the swings, her natural mothering instincts extending effortlessly to Laia. She's incredible with kids, he thought, feeling something loosen in his chest. For the first time since Catherine's death, he could imagine a future that didn't feel like he was betraying his wife's memory. As the children played on the climbing structure, Luca and Isabelle found themselves sitting closer on the bench, their shoulders almost touching. I have a confession, Isabelle said quietly. I've been thinking about that night at the restaurant constantly. About how it felt like we were meant to meet. Luca turned to face her fully. I've been thinking the same thing, Catherine used. To say that love doesn't replace love, it multiplies it. I never understood what she meant until now. I'm scared, Isabelle admitted. Marcus and I have built such a safe little world. What if we mess this up? What if we don't? Luca countered gently. What if this is exactly what all 4 of us need? Their hands found each other on the bench, fingers intertwining as naturally as breathing. In that moment, watching their children play together under the California sun, both of them knew they were falling in love. Challenges and choices, 2 months into their relationship. Luca and Isabelle faced their first real challenge. Leah had been asking more questions about her mother lately. And during a family dinner at Luca's apartment, she suddenly burst into tears. I don't want to forget Mommy, she sobbed, pushing away from the table. If Isabelle becomes my new mommy, will I forget what my real mommy looked like? Luca's heart shattered as he knelt beside his daughter's chair. Isabelle immediately stood up, her own eyes filling with tears. I should go, Isabelle whispered, but Luca shook his head. No, please stay, he said softly. We need to talk about this together. Isabelle knelt down on Leah's other side. Sweetheart, I would never want to replace your mommy. She was special and wonderful, and she will always be your mommy. I'm just hoping to be your friend who loves you very much." "But what if I love you too?" Leah asked, her voice small and confused. "Then your heart just gets bigger," Isabelle said gently. "Love doesn't run out, Leah. The more people we love, the more love we have to give." Marcus, who had been quietly watching, came over and hugged his friend. "My daddy left, but that doesn't mean I can't have a new daddy who stays," he said with 6-year-old wisdom. Later that evening, after the children had fallen asleep during a movie, Luca and Isabelle sat on the couch, emotionally drained, but somehow closer than before. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," Isabelle confessed. "For you to realize this is too complicated, too messy." "Isabelle, look at me," Luca said, cupping her face gently. "Messy is life. Complicated is love. But what we have is real, and it's worth fighting for." "I love you," she whispered, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "I love you too," he replied without hesitation. "I love your strength, your kindness, the way you make Marcus laugh. I love how you've brought light back into our world." They held each other on the couch, both understanding that they had crossed a threshold. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about creating a new kind of family, one built on choice and love rather than just circumstance. The next morning, Luca found Leah in the kitchen carefully arranging photos of Catherine alongside new pictures of their adventures with Isabelle and Marcus. "See, Daddy?" she said proudly. "Mommy can be here too. She's smiling at all of us." Luca realized his daughter had figured out what he was still learning. Love doesn't diminish when shared. It grows, it adapts, and it finds a way to honor the past while embracing the future. Full circle 1 year later, Luca stood in the same spot at Bella Vista, where he had first seen Isabelle, but this time, everything was different. The restaurant had been transformed with white roses and twinkling lights for their wedding reception. Table 12, where their love story had begun, was decorated with a small sign that read, "Reserved for Destiny." "You know," Rachel said, adjusting Luca's boutonniere, "I never did get to meet Sarah again. I should probably apologize for that whole mix-up." "Are you kidding?" Luca laughed. "You should send her a thank you card. If I hadn't sat at the wrong table, I never would have found my soulmate." In the bridal suite upstairs, Isabelle was putting the finishing touches on her makeup, while Leah spun around in her flower girl dress. "You look like a princess, Isabelle," Leah said, then paused thoughtfully. "Are you nervous about marrying Daddy?" A little, Isabelle admitted. "But good nervous. It's like when you're about to go on the best adventure of your life." "I'm excited too," Leah said. "Marcus is going to be my real brother now, and you're going to be my bonus mom." Isabelle's eyes filled with happy tears. Bonus mom had become Leah's special term for her, and it felt more precious than any traditional title. The ceremony was small and intimate, held in the restaurant's private garden. As Luca and Isabelle exchanged vows, both children stood beside them, each holding a small bouquet. They weren't just uniting to people. They were blending to families into something beautiful and whole. "I promise to love you and support you," Luca said, his voice thick with emotion. "To be a partner in raising our children and building our dreams together. You walked into my life when I least expected it and showed me that love can surprise us in the most wonderful ways. I promise to honor the love that came before us while creating something entirely new," Isabelle replied, glancing at the small photo of Catherine that sat beside the altar. "To be a mother to Leah and a wife to you, and to never forget that sometimes the best things in life happen when we least expect them." As they kissed, sealing their union, the children cheered and the guests applauded. Later, during the reception, Luca and Isabelle sat at their special table, watching their children play with their cousins on the dance floor.
Oh.
"Do you ever think about that night?" Isabelle asked, leaning into her husband's shoulder. "Every day," Luca smiled. "Best mistake I ever made."
Well, what if Sarah hadn't shown up?
"What if you had just left when you realized your error? Then I guess we would have met some other way," Luca said confidently. "Some things are just meant to be." As the evening wound down, the four of them stood together in the garden, now a family in every sense of the word. The jasmine that had perfumed the air on that first night bloomed around them. Somewhere in the distance, A piano played the same soft melody that had been their soundtrack from the very beginning. Laya looked up at her father and her bonus, Mom, then at Marcus, who was now officially her brother. "This is the best family ever," she declared, looking around at the faces filled with love and joy. Luca knew that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with sitting at the wrong table and finding exactly where you belong. The indie liked this video, if the story touched your heart. Subscribe for more emotional tales, and share with someone who believes in the power of true love, and let us know in the comments. We love connecting with our global community of romance lovers.